Hi everyone, it's Amanda Saladin from love.life.yarn.com, and today we're going to be making the kids' saddle shoulder pullover. You can find more than 90 free knit and crochet patterns at love.life.yarn.com, and please subscribe for these great video tutorials. So to make this sweater, we're going to need the Lion brand yarn Heartland. I used Olympic. We used 3 skeins of that for the size 6, and I used 1 skein of Sequoia for the contrasting color. So you'll need that. You'll need a size I and a size L crochet hook, a yarn needle, and suede elbow patches if you choose to use those. So this sweater is made from the top down. We start with the saddles, as you can see the brown part right there on the shoulders, and then we work down from there, back and forth in rows until we get to the armholes, and then you're going to work it in the round. And then the sleeves are worked in the round. So the only seaming you're going to have to do is at the ribbing. So if you like to make sweaters, but you don't like to seam everything up, especially like sleeves in and stuff like that, this sweater is for you. So I'm going to walk you through step by step how to construct this sweater. Trust me, it's not as intimidating as it looks. It is an easy level. I know you can do it. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing we make with this sweater is they're called the saddles, the shoulder little accents. So we're going to make 2 of these. Go ahead and start with a slip knot on your smaller hook and with your contrasting color. Okay, and I'm making of course the size 6, I'm going to chain 11. So refer to your written pattern for how many to chain for your size. Now we're going to be working in half double crochet, and we're going to make a little ribbing. All the ribbing in this sweater is half double crochet. So we're going to count our little chain 2 at the beginning as a stitch. So start right here in the 3rd chain from hook and half double crochet. And then half double crochet in each chain. And at the end, you're going to have 10 half double crochet, including that chain 2 on the end. Okay, for the size 6. So make sure you're referring to your written pattern for your size. Okay, this video does not replace the written pattern. It's just helping you see really the construction of this sweater. Having trouble with my yarn here. There we go. Because this sweater is constructed a little bit differently, we're starting with these saddles and then working down to the armhole separately and then joining. So it's kind of a different technique for crochet, and I love it because it leaves you without a lot of seaming to do at the end, because you don't have to put the sleeves in or anything like that. So now that you are coming down to the last stitch, go ahead and half double crochet in the last chain. Okay, there we go. Got us 10, and now we're ready to turn. And this is the row you're going to repeat. So chain 2, and since that counts as your first half double crochet, you're going to skip this stitch. Now we're going to use the back loop only. So this back loop right here, you're going to split the stitch in the middle, just like this. Okay, so not the front, not where you normally go through. So half double crochet in just that back loop, and now go across, half double crocheting in the back loop until you get to your turning little chain that we had at the end. Okay, now you just want to grab this little You see there's a little stitch there, the chain. Now grab the back of this, which mine's usually a little tight at first, so go ahead and grab that. And that should give you 10, including your little chain 2. So turn, and we're going to repeat this. So chain 2, skip that first stitch, and then half double crochet in the back loop only of each chain across. Now this is going to be the row that you will repeat. It just depends on how many rows you need to make it the length of what it specifies in the written pattern. So check that out. This one needed to be 2 3/4 inches, and so I found out from, I've already made my first little saddle, that I need to do 8 rows of half double crochet to reach 2 3/4 inches. So that's what I'm gonna do. This is row 3 already for me. So every time you get down to the end, make sure that you also are working into your chain. Okay, so just reach in there. You have to use your fingernail to help, I know I always do, and just make sure you have 10 stitches. And repeat this for the number of rows you need. Okay, so we have both of our saddles made, and we're ready to work the back. So we've fastened off the first saddle, but not the second. So you still have a live loop. I went ahead and cut my yarn. Now I'm going to change to my larger hook and my main color. So chain 1, and now work in single crochet the number of stitches specified. For the number size 6, we're going to work 8 stitches. And that works out perfectly because I have 8 rows, so I know that each row gets 1 stitch. I'll tighten this up here, that always drives me crazy when I join new yarn. I hate to put a slip knot in, so I'm single crocheting 1 in each of these rows. Oh, hold on. I'm going to go under more than 1 loop here. And just work your way across. Okay, here I have my last stitch. Okay, so I've worked 8 across here. And now for the back of the neck, we're going to chain. So for this size, I'm going to chain 16 for the back neck. Okay, now you're going to get your other second saddle, and you're going to work across the second saddle. So same number as the first saddle, which for my size that is 8. So I'm going to single crochet 8 stitches right across this second saddle. And this will set up our back, and we're going to work down. So now we're at the shoulder area, working our way down. Okay, and last one. Okay, and there's the foundation of the back. Okay, for this row 2, we're going to turn our work and we're going to chain 1 and just single crochet in each stitch and chain all the way across. Okay, turn your work again, and for row 3, now we're going to start shaping the shoulders and doing some increases. So refer to your written instructions for how many stitches. So we're single crocheting across. So for the size 6 right now, what I'm doing is I am working across 27 stitches. We're going to be working short rows to give a little more room to the shoulders. So we'll go right past the saddle, like the neck area on the other side. You go past the where you chain for the back neck, and then you'll either work 3 or 4 stitches past that, depending upon what size you're making. And then you will turn and leave those stitches unworked. And it will look a little funny at first, you'll see mine, but it works out to where it shapes the shoulder area and gives a little more room. Okay, we've turned, we've left the other stitches unworked, and now we're going to work across to the other shoulder. So for my size, I am working 22, and this way I'll go right past the other center neck area onto the other saddle and work a few stitches. I said, depending on the size, either 3 or 4 past that. So look at your written pattern and see. Like I said, mine's 22 for size 6, and you're going to work that side, and you're going to turn and leave those other stitches unworked. Okay, for row 5, we're going to chain 1 as we do for each one. We're going to work across all of the stitches you just worked in row 4. So I'll work across those 22 and a few more. So my total Stitch count on my size for row 5 is 25. Now, we're going to work all the way across, and then I'll show you how to work those stitches that are like where there's a gap. Okay, when you get down to the end like this, you can see there's quite a bit of a jump between this stitch and the next, but just go ahead and stitch into the next single crochet and one past that. And so you'll add 3 or 4 stitches to it, and you can see the short row shaping here. Kind of looks a little odd, I know. Okay, for row 6, chain 1 and work all the way across. For me, it's going to be 28, so I'm going to work 3 stitches past where I worked before. And if you're making a larger size, you might be working 4 stitches past. It just depends on what size you're making. So go ahead and work all the way across again. Okay, here we are, ready to make that jump down a step. Okay, and now I'm just going to single crochet, so down here in this next one. I'm going to work 3 past where my little jump was, so I'm working these. You should have, for I think each size, you'll have 2 unworked stitches at each end now. Okay, for row 7, you're going to turn, chain 1, and single crochet all the way across to the end. Okay, we're down to the last 2 stitches, so just go ahead and jump down and single crochet in these 2. If you find that you're getting a hole in this area, I didn't with this yarn, you can always single crochet into the side of that first row of a single crochet that is skipped, where you jumped. But I didn't have any problems with that. You can see it kind of curves now. See, I have a curved area allowing more movement in the shoulders. And we're going to work across for row 8 and catch this part over here. And then you're going to work just back and forth in even rows until the piece measures. Mine is 5 1/4 inches from the center saddle. I'll show you how to measure this. So here I have my ruler, and I have worked this very center of the saddle. I put it literally in the middle because that's your center shoulder, and measure. Look at your written pattern to see how long your size should be. Mine should be 5 1/4, and you can see except for that little edge right there, I have 5 1/4. So that's where I'm going to stop, and I'm going to work on the armhole shaping. Alright, so we're ready for armhole shaping on this piece right here. And to do that, you're just going to increase 1 stitch on each side first. Okay, chain 1, you work 2 single crochet into the first stitch right here. And then you're going to work even all the way across till you come to the last stitch. Okay, so when you get down to the last stitch, you're actually going to work two single crochet in this stitch as well. That way we increase one stitch on each side. Check your written instructions. You might need to repeat this row if you're making a larger size. So turn, and for row 2, for all sizes, you're just going to work even in single crochet. So chain 1 and work even all the way across. Okay, and now we're going to add even more to the armholes. So chain 3. We're adding 2 stitches per side, so go ahead and turn it and work into your chain. So single crochet in the second chain from hook and the next chain. And then you're going to just single crochet all the way across. Okay, on the next row, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to repeat. You're going to chain 3 to add to the other side, single crochet in the second chain from hook, and the next chain, and then single crochet in each stitch across. So we have added 3 stitches on each side total, or 5 depending upon what size you're making. So just work all the way across in single crochet. And then set this piece aside and we're going to do the front. Okay, now we're ready to work the front. So across this saddle, starting at the armhole edge on the right side, join your yarn, chain 1, and work single crochet evenly across. For this size, I'm going to work 8 single crochet. Tighten up my yarn. It always drives me crazy if I don't tighten up the yarns first when I go across. So I'm going to work 8 single crochet for this size all the way across. Okay, here's the last stitch. And just work your way in there. Okay, there are my 8 single crochet to start our front. Now turn. Work the next 2 rows evenly across. Okay, now we're ready to start our shoulder shaping like we did for the back. So with row 4, you chain 1, and you only are going to single crochet part of the way. For this size, it's 3. So look at your particular size in the pattern. And then you're going to turn, leaving the remaining stitches unworked. And then just single crochet the same stitches for row 5. And turn. Now for row 6, we're going to start increasing for the V-neck. So you're going to work 2 single crochet into this first stitch. Okay, so right in the same stitch. And then we're going to single crochet 5 after this. So these next 2 that we've been working. And then 3 after this. So when you do this, you just go ahead and single crochet down into the next stitch, even though it's a little ways down from that, and it will shape the shoulders. And then turn, leaving those last 2 unworked. Now we chain 1 and just single crochet all the way across back to our first single crochet. Okay, now for row 8, we're going to increase again. So from now on until whenever it says in your written pattern, you're going to increase on the even numbers. So 2 single crochet in the first stitch, and now we're going to single crochet across to the end to complete our shoulder shaping. So we will be working even on the odd rows and increasing on the even rows. Said refer to the written pattern for how many of these increases and how many rows to work even for your particular size. And then we'll come to the joining row where we work the entire front all the way across. Okay, now we're ready to work the left front. You've worked all the increases for the right front. And so you're going to start this time joining on the neckline edge with the right side facing. Larger hook, main color, chain 1, and work across just in the same as you did on the right side. So for my size, it's going to be 8 single crochet. I'm going to work across here. And then you work row 2 even. Okay, for rows 3 and 4, we're going to start our shoulder shaping, and we're going to single crochet 3, so chain 1, single crochet 3, and then for row 4, you're going to turn and single crochet across the same 3 stitches. Okay, now for row 5, we'll soon chain 1 and single crochet across the same 3. And then we're going to single crochet 3 more for this size. So 6 stitches total. Whatever size that you're making, it should be all the way across down and leaving 2 stitches at the end. Okay, row 6 is our increase row. This is when we start increasing on the even. So this time though, we're going to work down to the last stitch and work the increases in the last stitch. So single crochet to the last stitch, and now work 2 single crochets in this last stitch. I tend to make mine tight, and so I have to help it in there. Now I'm going to work one more. Okay, for row 7, going to chain 1 and single crochet across. So go ahead and work in your increases here. So work across those stitches. This is going to end our shoulder shaping on this side, because we're going to come back and we're going to grab those last 2 stitches that we did not work in the previous rows. Okay, so we're going to go down here, and get these last 2 stitches. And I know it looks really strange at this point, especially these fronts. They look even stranger than the back, but it does help shape the shoulders, and it looks really good once it's on, as you can see from the picture at the beginning of the film, and then at the end I'll put some pictures here of him, my little guy, wearing it. So now we're going to work back and forth. Again, your even rows are going to be your increases, and your odd rows will just be working even, and you should match up with the same number of rows you had for the right front. This way we can join them together and work it to the armhole shaping. So just work across and increase down at the end of each even row. Okay, now we're ready for our joining row. So we need to be at the right front armhole edge. So we're going to go ahead and join our yarn here and chain 1. You're going to just work across all of the stitches. So there will be no chaining in between the right and left front. So just go ahead and work across all the front stitches. And then we're going to shape the armholes the same as the back. So you should be at the same length as you are. So go ahead and I would double check that, like hold it up, fold it in half, match up your saddles, and then make sure you're at the same length where you started the armholes on the back, but you should be. And then you're going to shape the armholes the same, where you're going to increase at the armhole edge, work even, and however many times the written pattern tells you to do that. And then you're going to add the armhole stitches. So you'll work that, and then we'll be ready to join the body. Okay, now we're ready to join the body. So our yarn is attached here on the left side. We're going to work across here, and then we'll chain whatever number your written pattern tells you to connect the front to the back. Alright, so for mine it says to chain 4. So I've worked across the front, working my chains, and I'm going to go ahead and single crochet across the back. So turn it to where you can get to that. Here we go. And now single crochet evenly across the back. Keep working single crochet there. And when you get to the end, you can see we need to connect our back to the front. You're going to chain 4 again, or check the written pattern for your size, but for this size I'm making now, it's 4. And we're going to join, and that will give us our number we need around the body. So for the size I'm making for the 6, it would be 84 stitches. And now for each one, you're just going to turn, chain 1, and then you're going to single crochet in each single crochet around, and then you'll join, turn, all the way around. And you do that until the length specified on your size written pattern. Then you're going to work 1 row in the contrasting color. So once you get it all the way down, like I've done here, just kind of time lapse, you're going to work it all the way around, contrasting color. Okay, once you've worked your last round in the contrasting color, you're going to bring our main color back, and we're going to work the ribbing. So now you need to change to your smaller hook. And now we're going to chain 9, okay, you're going to half double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3. Remember, this little turning chain counts as a stitch, so this will be 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 is this last little loop right here next to the contrasting color. And then you're going to half double crochet that and the next stitch together. So you can see the one where you join there. Here's the next one. And work those together. Now turn, chain 2. Okay, skip the first stitch because it's going to count as our stitch, and single crochet, half double crochet, back loop only, all the way across, including into our turning chain. So when you get down to the end, here's the turning chain. Just work into one loop of it as well, and turn. Chain 2, skip the first stitch, half double crochet, back loop only, all the way down, And then we're going to join with the half double crochet 2 together. Alright, so here we are at the last stitch, so work the back loop and then skip a stitch. So skip this one. And yes, it will make a little space, but it'll be alright, skip it. And then we're going to work in this one. Forgot to yarn over. Now some people found that to avoid this space here, they slip stitch into the next stitch and then chain 1, and that is okay. When you turn here, instead of this chain 2, you can work a slip stitch chain 1. That's what some of my testers found, and it worked really well. So just keep going back and forth all the way around the body of the sweater, working the same way. Just half double crochet, back loop only up, and then when you come back down, attach it to the body. Now we're going to join the yarn right here in these 4 what were chains that we worked on the other side for the underarm. You may have 6 depending on your size, so your larger hook and the right side facing you. Join your main color. Okay, so if I have 4, I'm going to join right here where I can work 2. And if you have 6, you're going to work where you can work 3. So I'm going to go ahead and single crochet. I chained 1, single crochet in these 2 stitches right here. And now you're going to work stitches evenly up to the saddle. So for me, I found that this was pretty much every other row. And on my size 6, it was 11 stitches to the start of saddle. So I'm going to go every other row. Right? You may need to do a little more or less depending upon your size, but just work them evenly spaced. Okay, when you get to your saddle, you're going to work the number of saddle stitches that you began with right across here. So mine was 8 stitches, so I'm going to work those. It is a little hard sometimes to work in the saddle stitches, so if you find that switching back to your smaller hook for this and then kind of making a loose stitch, that might help if you have trouble getting in these. Mine was okay, as you can see, going through. My yarn is kind of giving me a little trouble. Okay, once you worked across your saddle, you're going to work down the back. So go ahead and work the same number of stitches evenly to the base of the armhole that you did in the front. So I said for my size, that was 11 stitches. And again, mine worked out to be every other row, which was perfect. Okay, now we're back to the base of the armhole, and I have 2 stitches left for this, so we're just single crochet in the last stitches, and then we're going to join with a slip stitch to our first single crochet of the round and turn. Okay, so for rows 2 through 5, you're going to work even, and any row on your written pattern that says to work even, you will just chain 1 and single crochet all the way around, and then join with a slip stitch, and you'll turn the work and work around. Okay, so we've completed that round, and now we're ready for a decrease round. So I'm going to show you guys how to work a decrease round. So any round on your written pattern says decrease. You're going to chain 1, and you're going to single crochet 2 together. And then you're going to single crochet evenly around to the last 2 stitches. Okay, now I've made it down to my last 2 stitches, so I'm going to single crochet 2 together here at the end. And then join with a slip stitch to our first stitch. So anytime you see a decrease round on your pattern, this is the way that you'll work it. Otherwise you'll work even, joining and turning between each round. So let me kind of lay out my sweater here so you can see how the sleeve is taking shape. Okay, there it is. You can see right now it's going to come out and get smaller and smaller until we get down to the ribbing area. And I've already done one sleeve on this side. And so you crochet it in, it just attaches. You work down, we're going to put a row of contrasting color like we did at the bottom, and the ribbing is worked the same as the bottom. So here is our row of contrasting color coming up. I have worked all of my rows even and my decrease rounds, and I'm going to work one round in the contrasting color. Okay, so after you work the ribbing on the hem and the sleeves, you're going to have to seam this one little part. So go ahead and you'll fasten off, and you're going to use your yarn needle to seam up this little bit. Okay, so we'll start up here at the top, and I just like to join mine right here like this just to get it started. Okay, so now we're just going to work the stitches even on each side. So go through one stitch on this side, and then I'll come over and I'm going to get the stitch across from it. and pull it nice and tight, but don't make it too tight. And then I'll get the next stitch and bring it over to the next one. And just keep doing that back and forth. And then when you get to the end, you can weave in your ends. And so this is the only seaming that this sweater will need. I'm really liking this method of constructing sweaters because it leaves a lot less finishing. Although I enjoy finishing, I'm really enjoying this way here. Alright, so weave in your ends. Okay, now we're going to work the collar right along the nice V edge we have here. We're going to work a row in the contrasting color. So get your larger hook and join right here at the edge of the V. Join your yarn, chain 1, and single crochet evenly up the V. So go ahead and I'm going to single crochet in the same space. And just like we did with the arm, like doing the sleeve, we're going to do every other row to make it nice and even. We're going to go all the way up to the saddle. Okay, so we're almost to the edge of the saddle. I'm going to do this one stitch right next to it. And this contrasting color will give us a nice accent between the collar, ribbing, and the body. So now I'm going to actually switch to my smaller hook for this because it's a little tighter on this side, which was my foundation chain. And since we're working the ribbing and we're not going to have to work any other stitches into it really, I'm just going to go ahead and work across with my smaller. I always seem to have a much harder time crocheting into my foundation chain. I'm sure you probably have found the same problem because it's just a lot tighter on that side. So switching to the smaller hook would help you. Alright, now I'm going to switch back to the larger hook to go around the back. Okay, move this out of the way. On the back should be pretty easy because we started with a chain, and you can see that we can just work into that chain. Okay, so we're going to work evenly across the back. And then continue on across the other saddle and back down the front of the V. Okay, here at the base of our neckline, we'll switch to our smaller hook, and we're going to work ribbing. Very similar. I think I'm actually going to join with the blue so that I don't, okay, use your main color to join. That way it can be the first stitch. Be nice and even. Okay, so we're joining here, and we're going to chain 2. Well, I'll go ahead and turn mine, because you're going to turn it to where you're going to work up a few stitches into the left front. Now, the chain 2 counts as a stitch, so that'll be 1, and now just half double crochet into the next 3. And that'll give us a 4-stitch rib, counting this little chain 2. Okay, so now let's turn. And we're going to chain 2. Skip that first stitch there and half double in the back loop only, just like we did the other ribbing. Alright, so you'll do half double crochet together, that last stitch, and the next single crochet on the body. And then turn, chain 2, half double crochet, and we're working it the same way, the same ribbing that we did for the hem and the sleeves. The beginning of it was just different, where we started by half double crocheting into the body of it. Okay, and you're just going to work back and forth just like this all the way around till you get to the point in the V. Now when you reach here at the end, I've worked all the way around the neckline and it's nice and flat. I'm going to use my yarn needle and I'm going to sew this right on top or behind. I mean, it really depends, because boys versus girls typically has one side over the other, and so that's up to you if you care about that. For me, I just went ahead and looked at what typical boys sweaters, since I have 4 boys, I don't have any girls in the house, have, so I just did that. And I'm going to go ahead and put mine right here on top. Okay, so my left side is on top of the right. And really it's not an issue either way, whichever way you want it. And you sew this part in. Once you get this sewn on, you can't even tell that it's been sewn down. It just looks really good. Alright, and this will be it. You will have, some ends to weave in, definitely, but overall, very little seaming. Really happy with how this method is turning out, and I'm designing some other patterns as well with this method. Hope you enjoy.